We got a very awesome episode today. By the way, Jade, you know that my mother is now watching the podcast and calling me and giving me notes.
Ah, that's good. Hopefully, good notes. Or is
Yeah.
she correcting your language?
Well, at first it was don't curse so much. That
Oh,
was months ago when I started. Now she's actually giving me constructive criticism. So we're making progress with the parents actually um supporting the art form.
Yeah.
Um we're joined by someone that I really admire, amazing comedian, content creator from the Sunshine State of South Florida, specifically South Florida. Um, she's got a gazillion followers across Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, the whole nine. Built her own audience from the ground up. She now has a comedy special on her YouTube channel that you need to check out called Single Female, and she's about to go on tour with Martin Lawrence. So please welcome Daphne Springs. What's up?
what's up, Keenan and Jade? How y'all doing?
We're doing real good. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. We made it almost to Friday.
We made it almost to Friday, halfway through the month of May. Um, I need some good news for Black people soon. I need good news for Black people, especially Black men in Hollywood, because Black men in Hollywood right now, this has been quite a week. I'm stressed.
Why? What happened?
Well, first we had the Drake and Kendrick battle.
Oh yeah. But I like a good battle though. That was pretty juicy. I don't know. I love drama, but I don't like to be in it. But I love to watch it. And every morning I wake up, I'm like, did Kendrick respond?
Yeah.
It was something new. It was someone said that was basically like two dudes were writing poetry notes to each other and sending them back and forth like they was in class. So
yeah, I've always considered Kendrick Lamar like a slam poetry type of rapper anyway. Like, speak easy type. And I was walking down the streets of Compton, and yeah, I think that was like that anyway. So yeah, just Lamar's music made me want to do this.
He enunciates his R's, very Def Poetry Jam vibes. For those of you that haven't been keeping up with the Kendrick Drake battle, which is now over, I hope, because a lot of people actually weren't keeping it up. I wasn't really keeping it up, so I basically got the cliff notes of the whole battle. Basically, Drake came out and said he had more money than everybody. Then Kendrick came back and said, Drake, you're a pedophile.
Oh, Lord.
And then out of nowhere, Drake comes and says, hey, I didn't touch Millie Bobby Brown. And everybody else was like, who said anything about Millie Bobby Brown? Because, to Drake, Stranger Things means something different. Then
guess who I saw last week?
Who?
Downtown. J. Cole. And he was just looking peaceful. And I'm like, yo, bro, you started all this. You
No.
Kendrick Lamar said in the song on Metro Boomin and Future, yo, it's not the big three, it's just Big Me. And then after that, J. Cole came in with a diss track, and now he down in downtown LA just looking peaceful.
J. Cole was smart. He said, I'm out early.
No, J. Cole, he took a shot from the car and then drove off.
Yeah, basically.
And went cappuccino.
And then like he repented after he did the drive-by shooting. But I saw him, he walked in, he was looking so peaceful and calm. I mean, his hair looked frazzled. He always looked musty, but other than that, it looked like he didn't start nothing at all.
His mother probably called him as well and said, Jay, you shouldn't have done that. And he's like, you're right. And then and then out of nowhere, Shaquille O'Neal drops a diss track against Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
It's been nothing ever since the beginning of the year. 2024 has been the diss of the whole, I would say, decade, maybe century.
Yeah, things been getting wild out here. I mean, like we've had the lights, the northern lights and stuff. We've had eclipses. I'm sure there's somebody's retrograde.
That's been cool. I mean, if I remember correctly, Shaq could barely make a free throw, let alone a freestyle. So I don't know what he was thinking. Yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, Daphne, but apparently Eddie Winslow did an OnlyFans with Sydney Starr.
A transsexual.
a trans woman, and they don't even call him by his real name. They call him Eddie Winslow.
So was he actually on there having sex?
I did not watch it. I just saw it trending on Twitter. Huh?
You look like you would subscribe
to an Eddie Winslow OnlyFans. What makes me look like I will? Is it the turtleneck that makes me look like I will subscribe?
It's definitely the turtleneck. I know you don't want to admit to it because your mom's watching, but yeah.
We'll have to talk about it offline.
I don't know what Daphne's talking about. But you remember Eddie Winslow was married to Superhead. So he was married to Superhead. He always looked exhausted. He's doing comedy now.
Yeah, you're not supposed to get that good of a head on a whatever basis that she was giving it. You know what I mean? That will drain you, and that will have you looking for something more. And that just explains why he's crossing over into different territories like OnlyFans. But a lot of people making a lot of money over there on OnlyFans.
It's hard out here for actors and stuff. And has he had any work recently?
No. And didn't the girl from that used to be on the Bernie Mac show, didn't she have an OnlyFans?
Yeah, Vanessa, the girl that played Vanessa. Yeah, she had OnlyFans. She is apparently making a lot of money off of it.
I may have to check that one out.
Oh Lord, sir.
Both of the young ladies on the Bernie Mac show grew up to be very beautiful women. I believe the youngest one, baby girl, I think she has 1 or 2 kids at this point. The boy is like working in IT or tech or whatever.
Well, I can see that. He looked like he would have been in tech when he was a kid. Like
actually, I'm the boy. I grew up and now I'm doing the podcast. Everybody, this is my secret.
I would believe that for Jay, but not you. That boy was brown skin.
Yeah.
All right. See, I'm just losing. I'm taking shots of Daphne left and right. Were you in the rap battle?
You got bars.
Comedians, we got to start dropping diss tracks.
Daphne versus Keenan.
that would last 2 hours. And then the last thing, of course, a lot of stuff's going on with the Family Matters people. Because first we had Judy go upstairs and then come back out.
Okay.
then we have Eddie Winslow, and then Steve Urkel married the white tech executive now. Last week,
Daddy was gay.
Yeah, the dad was gay. Yeah,
the whole like in real life.
Oh yeah,
yeah, in real life. Yeah,
the father from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was gay as well.
Yeah.
James.
My theory is that Die Hard is actually a prequel to Family Matters because the dad in Family Matters was the cop that helped Bruce Willis in Die Hard. And I just thought life for him got too tough in LA that he moved to Chicago and started a family.
Dang. And the whole time he was on the down low. That's crazy.
And then Tyler Perry's going to make the final film about Harriet finding out.
Yeah, she getting mistreated by a dark-skinned man, and then a light-skinned man going to come save her.
Well, that's what happened in the last few seasons of Family Matters. The family was saved by a light-skinned Harriet Winslow.
Yeah.
But I digress. Black men, we need to get our shits together. I don't know what's happening with black men in Black Hollywood, but I can tell you what is happening is that they're making movies like the American Society of Magical Negros. And
they wouldn't have.
Huh?
Title alone is just disturbing.
Well, I want to go around and get like everyone's initial thoughts. Daphne, I'm very, very interested in yours, so I want to do Jade first.
All right, my
why is Jade's screen so shaky? What do you have yours on?
It's me. I'm leaning on the desk. Thanks for calling me out. I'll sit up straight and get my posture together. The movie itself, like, it was pretty boring. And I went in thinking I was about to get like some type of Black Harry Potter type scenario or some type of actual wizardry. And it just never happened. And it was just a boring ass movie with rough storyline, basic acting, and really nothing left to want for it besides it to be over.
Daphne, what's your thoughts?
When I first heard the title, you're right, Jade. I thought it was something like a Harry Potter. I thought it was just going to be something like The Boys. You know how The Boys on is that on
Prime?
What is it on?
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime, the Boys, which is like superheroes or whatever. I thought it was going to be something like that because the magical lead of what is it called?
American Society of Magical Negroes.
Yeah, Magical Negroes. I thought it was just people who had like ancestry type of slave superpowers. But when I watched it, and it was just the main character is a light-skinned dude with, it seems like, identity crisis. And Uncle Tom, which would be, is that
David Alan Grier?
David Alan Grier. Uncle Tom got him through everything. I was just like, what? And then the coming to moment at the end when he just breaks down on the stage and is just like, yo, I hate living my life like this. I'm Black and I just want to be seen. I was like, yo, who wrote this? This shit garbage. It kind of reminds me of, do you remember Kaepernick did that little limited series?
Yes. Yeah.
And his hair braided, and his mama was like, well, you look like a thug. It kind of remind me of that if that person grew up and did a movie. Like, that's what it was to me.
So the thing I hated about the Colin Kaepernick show specifically is that I was getting upset the whole time every time he cried.
He was a cry.
Yeah, he would cry on the in the show. I'm like, yo, dude, like, be a man, like, just because you light skin, you're making all light skinned people look bad because you just cried because you couldn't get fruit at the continental breakfast. Like, I think. So I agree with both of you. I think this movie was a humongous missed opportunity.
And the title was misleading.
The title was misleading. Well, it shouldn't even been named that. First of all, we need, if you're going to do like an HBCU Hogwarts movie.
Which already sounds 1,000 times better than what we got.
Just do that. Because the fact that they had magical powers and they didn't help Black people for real. Like
at all. Not
they
one.
For real did not. So this is so I felt that the movie had mixed messaging. This is the mixed messaging I have. They said in the movie, the reason that we make white people comfortable is to help all Black people, because when white people are happy, then they do less harm to Black people, which is not true.
Not true at all. When white people are happy, they're still going to do harm to Black people. It is innate, and it's the such thing as I believe, like, innate racism. Like, they can't control it, because of the world we live in. It's like inherently racist. A lot of white people have to understand that they're inherently racist, whether they want to verbally or mentally psych themselves out to say that they're not. They still live in a system that operates on systemic and systematic racism. And until they dismantle that system as a whole, that it's just racist. And this, I didn't like a movie just being about being palatable for white people. This movie seems like a white person wrote the movie in a Black. I didn't know who the writer was. Who was the writer?
So the writer, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce his name right, but his name is Kobe Libby, Libii. Super Black name, but
that sounds like an African name, right?
But he's biracial.
He's biracial.
Does he have an African parent?
I'm
joking by the name. He might have an African parent.
You know what's funny is that I really couldn't find anything about his family except his mom is white and his father is Black. And
but that's not Black American.
Yeah,
he's judging by the name I'm getting that he's basically from the diaspora, but not Black American. And the way Black people tackle racist issues and a way a Black American's voice would have tackled this movie, I think would be totally different than someone who grew up who has an African father, right? An African father.
Yeah, I agree.
Because when African people come to the United States of America, their whole view on white American, white supremacy doesn't exist. as much as it does for Black Americans who have been in here, been indoctrinated into this country for decades and decades through ancestry, right? Through slavery, all the way down. Like, I'm Black American, you guys are Black American, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think we don't agree with the movie as much. But I could see somebody else from the diaspora, maybe the Caribbeans, Africa, and they're seeing this movie as like, oh yeah, this is great. This is really how I feel, and this is what I would do if I was in that situation. I think we just aren't the right audience for it.
Nobody thought this was good.
Well,
nobody.
Really?
Like, I think it got a 3, maybe a 3 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb.
Wow.
Like, it was trash. I mean, the thing is, like, I don't know that I necessarily agree with you that Africans don't have the same kind of perspective, but being pure Black and living that experience versus a biracial family where I think your view is just, if your viewing experience is slightly skewed. Like, I don't know the kids upbringing, the director, but I feel like the main character, Arn or whatever, is a reflection of the writer or director or whatever.
Well,
and both of them have biracial families.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, people that are not Black American in Black America, in America, their views, this is their view. That outlook that we seen in that movie, like, I don't know how to explain it, but you said that you disagree, but I stand on my opinion that this is the point of view. When people come to America from different countries, they don't view racism the same way that we view racism, right? We know that it is systemic here in this country. They view it as the land of opportunity, and you can go from nothing to something. So the way they see racism isn't the same way we see racism. And I know that from trial and error of being around somebody and being like, yo, that was racist, like on some slick shit, but not calling the person who was being racist, but like, yo, did you see that? And they're like, no, I ain't see it. Like,
yeah, I feel that. I get that. I get
the same as mine, but your views are different from mine because you come from a different part of the world where it's just not the same, bro.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive into the reason why. Let's dive into the reason why we didn't like the movie. And this is piggybacking off of what you guys said. First of all, I do agree that the movie does feel like it was written by somebody standing from the outside looking in. And to Daphne's point, a lot of people, there's a difference between colonized thinking and like FBA thinking, like when you, because being Black and from America, we're from the roots of this country, right? And it's passed on from generation to generation from generation, so we can see all of its flaws, right? Which is valid, right? So racism to us, American racism to us, it's a part of our heritage in a sense because we're from here. We're from the roots of this country, right? From another Black person that has like a colonial viewpoint from like another, like in Africa or like whatever, and like British people and all that stuff come to what Daphne's saying. America is always being sold as the land of the most opportunities, where you can come and get a good education. It's where you can come and make money, but you have to put your mind to it, right? Concurrently, they're also being taught that Black Americans in those countries
are
negative,
are lazy,
or violent,
uneducated,
our family
side, and they want to be more palatable towards the white side of things when they come to this country.
So when they come here, they go, "Oh yeah, we agree with you, white people. We agree that these Negroes are lazy, and I'm going to do whatever I can because this is the land of opportunity where I need to make money. So I'm going to do what I need to do to make money, and that means side with white people."
Yeah.
And
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
And not side with Black Americans.
Yeah.
Because the line, especially in corporate America, the line is drawn.
Yeah.
So from this movie, now this kid that wrote this movie, he's a biracial guy, but he also looks like a biracial guy that has a lot of white friends. So the fact that he wrote a movie, which is about a black people with magical powers that don't help other black people
directly.
Yeah, I think this is something. Yeah, so to speak on that point, and I want to just go back to one point before you move on too, is that we in this country too, sometimes people want to come over and say that Black Americans are lazy and stuff like that. And that is true to everywhere in the world, right? So if you go to Cuba, if you go to Africa, if you go to Europe, 90% of the people in all of these countries, every country in the world, is poor. Lazy, just regular go to work or surviving type of people, never going above the curve. But for some reason, us being Black Americans, we are graded on a higher scale that 99% of us should be elite and working hard and want something out of life. But you don't expect that from the poor ass country that you came from to come to America. When you were in your country that you left, you didn't look around you and see that 90% of the people were poor and lived in violence and poverty and stuff like that. You didn't view that as a negative. But when you got to America, you viewed Black Americans as a negative. But they also don't talk about white America, where 90% of them live in poverty and on, you know what I mean? And
food stamps and all that stuff,
violence and murder
and there's a lot of white people that are very lazy.
Yeah, but they only look at, it's just like a stereotype that has spread it around the world. And I think because they look at it like, okay, it's acceptable for that to happen in my country, but America, it shouldn't be accepted. All Black people should be doing something. And I remember one day I was in the city of New York, and this guy, he was a taxi driver, and he honked his horn. He looked to be maybe Middle Eastern or something. He honked his horn at me as I was parallel parking. I was nowhere near his car. I drive newer cars, so I have a camera in my car. So I know when I'm getting close to your car. Sir, you have an old ass car. You know what I mean? And you don't know technology has advanced. So I'm parking correctly. And when I got out, I said, hey, you didn't need to honk at me. I have a camera on my car. He was like, shut up. You're on food stamps. And I was just like, what? Are you serious? And you look at it as that, and to be honest, I'm a very successful Black person in the grand schemes of America, percentage wise, right?
Right.
And with that being said, we're talking about on paper financially, right? But this immigrant can look at me and say, hey, you're on food stamps, because of their view of what they think Black Americans are. Doesn't matter that I'm in a newer car, that's a luxury car, that the way I'm dressed, I'm on food stamps. Yeah, it's the ideology that people come to this country and they view us, but they don't view the people in their country that are like the 90% that aren't rich, right? They don't view them that way. And this movie seems like it was made basically off of someone who grew up as maybe with an immigrant parent. You see what I'm saying? More palatable to whites. And I just, the reason I say this, because I don't know if a Black American person would write a movie like this.
Spike Lee wouldn't write it, even though they got the term Magical Negros from Spike Lee.
Why you say that? Elaborate on that.
So Spike Lee, in an interview, I think back in the 80s or in the 90s, because when he did Do the Right Thing in 89, that was the same year that Driving Miss Daisy came out. And Do the Right Thing at the Oscars was not nominated, but Driving Miss Daisy was, and also won Best Picture. So after that, Spike has always been outspoken. He was like, yo, I'm tired of these Magical Negro movies where it's always a Black person that comes out of nowhere and saves the white person. We saw with Gone with the Wind, with Hattie McDaniel. Yeah. She won an Oscar for that, by the way. We saw it with Driving Miss Daisy, which won Best Picture. We saw it with The Help, which Viola Davis also won Best Actress. We saw it with Monsters Ball with Halle Berry. Even though Halle Berry's character lost everything in that movie, and she was still supposed to help this.
She had sex with the racist white man. Boom.
To help him not be racist. Oscar.
Again.
So it's basically, if you're sitting down, like if you and I or Jade are sitting down and writing a movie, oh, let's do a parody film about magical Negroes. If Jordan Peele did this movie, it would have been a totally different movie.
Totally different movie.
If the Wayans brothers did this movie, totally different movie. Because we need to know where the joke is.
Yeah.
When you're watching this movie, you don't see the joke because I believe that the person that made this movie really thinks white people are better than black people. Like that's my personal feeling. The reason you don't know just because what he's writing is he believes this, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, I think
let me ask you one thing. I didn't get the whole thing about the one black dude was in a sexual relationship with the white man that he worked with, and he was like, hey, you know, I'm grabbing your crotch, you got to grab my crotch sometime. Did y'all what?
So it was a Green Mile reference. It was a Green Mile reference.
Oh, okay. Let me know because I was lost on that.
And when John Coffey grabbed Tom Hanks' nuts to so he could have a baby and restore him, it was a whole moment.
Okay.
And that kept playing out, which I thought the subtle introduction of it early into it from the previous Magical Negro, whatever. I thought that was cool, fine. All right, cool. We got a little reference. I see what you did there. But to have it played out over and over again, and then the random dialogue about you ain't grabbing my nuts and I'm grabbing yours is one-sided. It was ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I just got lost on that. That reference makes sense now. I can understand that reference. It's almost like they took something from another movie. Then they made it like a parody then. Do you think this whole movie was a parody?
No, I thought it was just trash written. The thing is, if it was a parody, we would have been laughing throughout it. It would have been so extreme and so over the top that we were like, wow, I can't believe that. But they literally took what was framed up as a magical, mystic type capability, laid it on the premise of history and the contributions of Black people, and then sent us down this dry ass rom-com with subtle social commentary around. I'm
bro, the white woman.
Help me.
It's really bad satire. So the movie starts off at this art show, and Aaron is an artist that uses yarn, and he couldn't sell anything, and the dude just can't. He just talked to white, and I'm like, bro, at the beginning, I was annoyed with the character. When the white lady came up to him and she was like, look, I can't sell this stuff for you. You need to stop being scared. And I'm like, yeah, dude, get some nuts. Just
say something.
You would rather a white person treat you like the help than actually saying something to them. What is what is happening? And maybe this is because I'm supposed to be the target audience of this movie, I suppose, right? Mm-hmm. But even I'm like, yo, I don't care about you not being able to talk to white people. You don't have to talk to them. Fuck them. Go to the gathering spot in LA and sell your art.
And in classic Black training and Black households,
just be
you know how to code switch. You know how to have these conversations. And the whole premise being on just making white people feel safe by minimizing or curtailing your presence was really, really weird to me. And I just don't like it as a whole. Here's the rules. When he goes to the class, the whole class was like a multi-level marketing type meetup where everybody's funneled in this super, I'm millionaire type class person, super successful in terms of magic world. I'm going to grant you all these powers so you can go out and say white people make a lot of money, so forth and so on. They give us these rules. Number 1, always about the client service first. Number 2, be acceptable to whites. And then 3, lend your authentically Black experience in order to be able to help them. Which that was the only one that I kind of liked because it almost had a satirical approach to everything about being Black is dope except actually being Black. So I saw all right, are we going somewhere with this social commentary? And then no, we just get shipped off into the rom-com piece from there.
I mean, at the end of the day, he wanted to do an interracial rom-com story. That's what he wanted to do. That's what the movie's really.
It seemed like basically that if you do that, if you go that route, interracial rom-com story, it was just like, I won the white woman over the white man.
Well, so the rom-com
I wasn't even interested in her at first, but it was just the fact that I might as well have two women if I can. And I feel like his motive for even being upset and doing the whole speech on the stage to be like, accept me. I just want to be seen. Now I feel like I have a place and I'm valued. I feel like all of that was because he wanted to show off in front of the white woman. Therefore, the whole movie still falls back on no sense of pride in being black at all, just there to appease and be palatable to white America.
So here's the mixed messages that I was getting to earlier. So it says the rules was if you are selfish, which was actually a pretty smart joke because in a lot of black movies, in a lot of mainstream movies where there's a black character, the black character never has their own agency. Like if you watch like Star Wars, like whatever, and like John Boyega, like he doesn't have a love interest. He doesn't have any real motivations. So it's like I was kind of getting.
That's like they treat Asian people now. Because remember back in the day, they would say Jackie Chan would never kiss the girl.
Exactly.
The Asian character never got the girl.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, that's kind of smart. If you would have actually like pursued that, I'm like that would have been a smart joke. So basically, can't be selfish. If you're selfish, all the other black people in this entire fraternity. Which I think is my question is, side note, is that are they making fun of black fraternities at this point? Or what is this a joke? Like what is everybody loses power in the magic black fraternity?
I think they wrote this movie also to appease to white America because I know it has to get greenlit. So I know the people who saw this movie was like, oh my God, this is so good. Maybe I am treating the black people and like I have a little bit of white guilt. I'm going to go back to only hiring all white execs and only saying that black films are good in America, But this made me feel some type of compassion for the community. And now I got to go on with the rest of my life like it ain't happened.
You know what's really sad about that is that white people hated this movie too.
What you hated about the movie?
So well, because what happens is that part. Show the clip. Show the clip. This part.
Aaron, what's the most dangerous animal on the planet?
Sharks.
White people.
Oh.
When are white people?
All right. So, all right, we can take the clip down. Of course, when white people see that, they're like, this is racist, of course.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. You can't actually say this on celluloid. Like, that's like how like white people feel. So, question is, are they trying to say that black people are monolithic in this movie? Is that what you're trying to say? Or is that a joke? I don't know what your message is. Are black people in fraternities and sororities elitist? Is that a message that you're trying to do? I don't know. You're presenting the argument, but you're not going through with it. So I don't know.
But do you know how sometimes when you hand certain actors a script, especially somebody like David Alan Grier, like I would be interested to know whether or not that was in the original script or did David Alan Grier kind of improv a scene?
I think it was written. I personally think it was written. And he goes
on. What I'm saying though, some actors like David Alan Grier and Denzel, they can go in and change a whole damn scene.
Right. No, I don't know.
I wonder if
that part doesn't coincide with the rest of the damn movie and the message that they sending. So
well, it does because the next line is like you have to make them feel safe, and
so that we were safe.
Correct, and like that's just wild to me. Like I'm like just coddling the whiteness, and I thought that like when it comes to like the white agenda, so to speak. And listening to all the kind of like digs and takes and the passive aggression in there, I think they sprinkled that thing full of it. Well, like when he's talking about, well, I got the job to present the DEI report to meet
because I'm better.
naturally because like, well, I got it, so of course I deserved it. And then like
the whole time he stole the girl's idea.
Yeah, it's just like she's clearly the best designer, she's definitely the best marketer, but like they called you up to do it, and like you can't even consider bringing anybody with you on the stage. And it was that sense of entitlement and privilege that kind of kept sprinkling in, like, well, I just deserved it. Well, dude, a couple days ago you was down in the dumps doubting yourself until this magical Negro came in and said, hey, you got this, keep going, shoot your shot, you could do this, even though nobody wants you. The company doesn't think you're the best, you don't think you're the best, the girl don't think you're the best, but here I am trying to mend all this together, and you can't even acknowledge my feelings. Which, fast forward to the speech, this long ass monologue with no point, no rhyme, no reason toward the end. It's just like this whole dumping of I've never felt seen, I've never felt safe, and I deserve to be here, and all this stuff. It was just like, wrap it up in terms of getting into what you're doing. Now you're just having this violent.
Have y'all ever felt like that?
Say it again.
Have y'all ever felt like that?
No. I wasn't. No, my parents raised me to have.
Do you guys look on validation? Place all your validation on white people and their acceptance?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
This is a this movie is a very Los Angeles story.
And here's another thing too. He was just like, I want to feel accepted and all of this stuff, and I've never been viewed, and I've never been looked at. And I'm saying, but did you just erase the fact that you were in a whole secret society of Black people who thought that you were somebody who could take on this job and tackle this experiment or whatever? Did you? They viewed you. They viewed you.
So this is the part that it stuck out to me, and I'm not gonna say it bothered me because it was just a movie. That part that you said, the fact that they were a part of a exclusive Black society, but none of them didn't seem like they have camaraderie at all. They just came together and they met in the book in the back of the bookstore, which was also cool how they entered through a barbershop. I thought that was a nice touch.
Okay.
But the fact that they all come together in this exclusive society, basically the magical gathering spot. And no one really there was no camaraderie amongst the Black people there, right? And it got to a point because so my question is this a society of Sambos, Uncle Toms, and Mammies? Like, is that what we're saying? That's why y'all don't really get along, right? Yeah. Because even at the end of the movie where he's like, well, I'm going to forsake my Blackness for this white woman, because that's essentially what he's doing. Because the rule was, if you're selfish and you put yourself first, we're going to take away your magical Black powers
and your memory,
erase your memory, and you're just going to be a regular Black person, which is apparently the worst thing you can be, according to the movie.
Yeah,
regular ass Men in Black Black
immediately.
And then he was like,
I'm out.
He was like, sure. He was like, okay, well, I guess that's what's going to happen. So then what happens is when he finally goes to work at Meatbox, which is that corporate
Facebook.
Facebook. He works at Facebook, basically. I've worked in tech, so it's like, I get it. It's whatever, right? There's 2 Black characters that work at this place. And when they do the whole scene where the CEO comes and he's like, we're not racist, we're not this, we're gonna redo everything and make our AI recognize Black voices. There's a Black woman standing behind them, and then there's actually a shot to the side. Like they took time to set up a camera and the lights to get a view of another Black man standing next to him. Like the woman behind him, she's in shot, but they do another angle and a medium close-up of another Black man with locks. And when that happened, I'm like, oh shit, like, is this like another Magical Negro? Like, is this a story that we're gonna like pursue? right?
No, of course not.
Aaron is existing in the world where he's complaining about white people feeling them uncomfortable, but he doesn't interact with any black people that's around him
at all. Besides David Allen Greer and the rest of the Magic Negroes, nothing.
Even when David Allen Greer,
the rest of the Magical Negroes are reprimanding him, like they're mad at him. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, I hear messing up the church's money.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it.
And how were they funded?
No, it was the syrup.
They got grants.
Huh?
They got grants and PPP loans?
No. They funded it by, they actually said it. It was like, I wrote it down. It was like Aunt Mosey's syrup. That was it was a black woman syrup that was like Nancy Green syrup.
Aunt Jemima syrup is the one.
It was called Nancy Green syrup, maple syrup, which was started back in the 1800s, and they've used the money from that syrup to fund their operation.
So they're actually using black money to fund the white experience, themselves the more. They not even using white money to do this whole. That makes it even worse. Even though white people may be buying the product, but still, do you get what I'm saying?
But Daphne, let's be real. Is this any different than how some black people think they have to make it in Hollywood? Is it any different?
What do you mean specifically?
Take us as black comedians, right? Mm-hmm. How many times have you had a conversation with like an agent or somebody that said, well, you need to be more palatable to all audiences? They won't say specifically white, but they'll say, hey, if you want to make it to this level.
I never had anybody tell me that. I've never heard that before. I've just never heard it,
Yeah.
And I'm signed at the biggest places, and they haven't had those type of conversations. Because I always come authentically, me and being black and just who I am. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like black is ghetto, so I don't have to be ghetto. I don't feel like black always is loud. I think we have louder pitches in our voices, but now I ain't got to be like, yo, all the time. But that's because that's just not me. That's not how I was raised, I was raised in a certain environment, which was like middle class with black parents, you know what I mean? But I went to a high school where people graduated and became attorneys, anesthesiologists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I dropped out of college from a chemistry degree. So I went to and some people didn't do nothing with their lives, but some people did, you know what I mean? So I don't know. That just wasn't, I've never heard that from an agent or something.
I mean, that's fortunate.
I actually hear that from black people towards other black people. Because to me, somebody who is authentically themselves is Tiffany Haddish. Yet and still, black people are the number one people who attack her for being herself. Oh, she too loud, or she doing this, or she need to act like this on the red carpet. It is constantly black people that are trying to put her into a certain category and place. So yeah, you may hear that from black people, but I don't hear white people saying stuff like that. But that's my experience. If your experience is different, then I like to hear it.
So let's that part that you just mentioned, I want to address that. Let's put a pin in that for just 1 second. You're very lucky that you haven't heard that. I'm actually very happy for you. That's awesome. Wow. So many people I've talked to, there's been specific conversations, and maybe it's because they do go into the situation like an Aaron from this movie. Maybe they don't have their own agency, and maybe someone feels that they need to be guided. Right. So then they go, I mean, it's really never happened. It's never really happened to me per se, not on like a grand scale, not like on the agent. I mean, all my agents have been black. So, I mean, it's like, I've never really like had like anyone white really like come to me and tell me. The only time it's like when I start out as comedy.
That's what I'm saying to you. It's only black people always for the most experience. So you're actually agreeing with what I'm saying. It's black people that try to put you back in your place and say that you need to behave and act like this so you could be more acceptable or palatable to white people. When you'll be surprised, a lot of white people, when you authentically you and black, they accept you how you are. We see that a lot with Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg stay working. He a weed smoking.
Everything.
Snoop Dogg is hilarious too.
Coronas.
You can erase the fact that a lot of people forget Snoop Dogg used to do porn. He was in the porn, but he wasn't having sex. But you remember he used to have them DVDs? And he used to with the porn stars, and his name, it was Snoop Dogg Presents Porn.
He was always
let him in at the highest levels. So I do believe that when I hear this kind of rhetoric, it comes from black people to other black people. Does that make sense?
That's the whole theme of the movie. Like literally black people saying we need to water down, make this safe space versus like the.
So is this something that he's saying now? Are we looking at it different?
But let me get to that. So let me get to that point now. By the way, those ghetto booty movies were hilarious when the guy would come in and talk.
You got something, but go ahead.
I've seen it. Anyway, go ahead. But to your point, Daphne, what's funny about that is a lot of times you'll see that with. You see that a lot. You do see that a lot with a lot of black people in general, but also a lot of black people in the industry as well. I mean, there's a lot of there was a conversation that we were having that somebody had. I wasn't having. I was listening. Do you think there's a difference as far as comedy is concerned? Do you think there's a difference between black comedy and urban comedy?
Okay, yeah, I do feel like it is a difference because black people make that difference. It's so many black comedians that I see that won't go to the white nights. If you only show up to Monday night at D-Rays, you only show up to all the black nights and stuff like that, then you're gonna fall into that category. I know people who are authentically them and they're black and they do black comedy. I don't gear my comedy towards white people. I only talk about my personal experience. Either you relate or you don't relate. Mm-hmm. With that being said, I put myself in all spaces. I don't limit myself. So when I was showing up on Monday nights with D-Ray, I was also showing back up on Wednesday night when it was the Improv Presents. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think a lot of black people limit themselves by only showing up to black nights. If you only show up to black nights and only network in black spaces, then you're going to put yourself into a black, being considered an urban comedian. If you take that same comedy and you do it in other places, but I mean, let's just be honest. Some of the ones who don't make it in mainstream, they're not, just because they do stand-up doesn't mean that they're hilarious. You know what I'm saying? They're not, they just up there just telling things that they think gonna make the audience laugh. So I know that for some reason, if you have a black audience and you talk about old people do like this, I was dating an old girl, I was dating an old guy, those jokes always work. So you limit yourself by not talking about your personal experience. You're only doing jokes to make people laugh. That's a you issue. I don't think it's the industry trying to pinpoint you or put you into certain categories. A lot of people are putting themselves in those categories.
So now the question is, because I actually wrote this question down while I was watching the movie, do you think this movie is about black people or a black person who's entrapped in their own mind versus the reality of his situation?
That is actually very intelligent, Keenan, and I would agree. It's a black person entrapped in their own mind.
Because
only people that have ever had a problem with me being me and being when I want to be loud, or if I want to be this or I want to be dances, other black people like, what?
Because what happens with Aaron in the movie is Aaron's the one that's scared to go up to the white people
the whole time.
At the beginning, he goes up and the dude's like, "Hey, take my glass." He could just be like, "No, I'm not. Wait, I'm an artist. Here's my thing over here." And that's when the woman comes up to us. She's like, "Look, I can't sell your stuff for you. You have to do it," right? When it comes to him when he goes to, and it's the same thing what you're saying, Daphne, when he goes and he's a part of the Magical Negro fraternity, they're all telling him that he needs to be palatable to white people. And he's like, "Oh, I'm just trying to become myself and figure out who I am." No, you need to not make white people uncomfortable. Hey, there's this girl I like. Oh, well, the white boy likes her, so you can't like her anymore.
You're off. Yeah, get out the way.
It's an old like post-slavery type of thing. Is it easy? You like them white women? You know they'll kill you, boy. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean. So now that we're talking out this movie, I'm starting to see it from a different point of view, that maybe it is way more intelligent than what we thought, because it's from the point of view of the expectations that we put on ourselves and the things that happen in some of our own minds. Because see, I grew up Muslim, Nation of Islam. So my mind is different than the next Black person mind, who may feel like when they go somewhere, they may have a hard time being accepted by white people. White people done helped me to levels that are unknown, right? I done had Hispanic people help me, Asian people help me. You know what I mean? People that just like put me onto some shit that is life-changing for me. White people, Black people, you know what I mean? So once I learned that you get out of this mindset of just keeping yourself in this bubble, right? Then if you expand that and you broaden your stuff, you'll be surprised all the amount of people in this day and age that are all different races that are willing to help you. Now, it's still a lot of white supremacy, it's still a lot of racism, still prejudice still exists, but you can get help and go to different levels. I don't know who it's going to come from. When I went to New York, all the bookers that booked me were white, but they booked me every night. I was able to pay my rent from doing that. I was able to get better at stand-up because of them. You see what I'm saying? I didn't go over to the Black clubs and stuff like that because they were so far away from my house. Manhattan was only 22 minutes away from me versus Brooklyn and stuff like that. And the Bronx was like an hour and something. So I stood, because I was getting so much work in those areas, I stuck in that area. But then it's like when I first came up, the Comedy Union was the first people to put me on stage. You know what I mean? Then you go over to the Ha-Ha. She's Hispanic. Her husband is Arab. They put me on those stages. You see what I'm saying? And then you move on over to the Laugh Factory, which I'm performing at tomorrow night. That Jamie is Jewish. So people from all different places, when you put yourself out there, is willing to help you. Like I said, some Black people are holding themselves back because they're limiting themselves by only showing up at Black things.
So the moral of the story is take the shackles and handcuffs and bars off of your own mind and explore all of your potential, because you may be blocking your own blessing to excel and grow.
And one last thing I will say is the only unrealistic part of the movie that I found was
not you getting the Trump on us.
Yes, the most unrealistic
white power sign. But go ahead.
The only unrealistic part of the movie was that not one Black woman said anything to Aaron about going after that white woman in the movie at all. He was hanging out with all the Black women in the fraternity.
He's not desirable to Black women. Black women only don't like. I'm a part of the Black Women Committee, and and we only care about Black men that we find desirable. The uglies, the unattractives, the geekies, or the too much of one category. We ain't tripping on y'all. Go live your best life with that white woman. When I looked at him, I was like, child, let him live his best life with that white woman. I'm not checking for him. I don't know. Some of my girlfriends might not be checking for him. Some Black women probably is checking for him. But you know, David Allen Greer with his old ass, that's sugar daddy age right there. Then I would be concerned if he was on that white woman. David, you with a white woman, but the little light-skinned biracial. And to me, when I see biracial people, I also think that if you had a white parent and a Black parent, you can kind of choose.
Yep. It's 50-50, whatever you like.
Yeah,
go
50-50
for it.
For you.
My one takeaway before we wrap up is that the whole ATM scene, there's no way in hell that I'm helping a white woman at an ATM at nighttime by myself. Period.
And holding her purse.
Ain't no way. Ain't no way. No circumstances. Like, man, you're just gonna have to figure it out. I gotta go.
And my one takeaway is the fact that he poured his heart out, and that white billionaire, that lady, none of them showed him any compassion. They just kept trying to get him back onto talking about the diversity thing. They didn't care. They was over talking his speech. He went and put his leg up on the stage and had his legs wide open. I was just like, they showed no respect. I expected that from the guy that he confronted, but the other two,
they didn't give a damn.
Corporate America, baby.
This is your company where you could get sued, and they just didn't even care. That made no sense to me.
It was on camera too. Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us, Daphne. This was awesome. Where can everyone find you?
Yep. Always go to my website, www.iamdsprings.com, and make sure you check out my comedy special. Boom. Single female, Daphne Springs, out right now on my YouTube.
Nice. Jade, you know what to do.
Hey, man, it's always been a pleasure. I appreciate you. Be sure to like, share, comment. If you like what you saw, we'll be sharing and posting some of the clips. And make sure you come back and see us next time on the 1st of the month.
And always follow us on Instagram at Kultur'd Pod. Also, subscribe to our YouTube and come back and see us. I've been Keenan Floyd, Jade Barnes, Daphne. It's a pleasure to have you all. And to those watching, have a good night and God bless.
Peace.